I'm sure you guys are aware, everything is going up in price, and that includes tech items and gaming. Now, if you weren't aware, the Steam Deck has gone up in price tremendously. I've seen a lot of videos about this, and I wanted to talk about it because I think even though those prices have gone up, it just makes a better case for why you need a Switch 2. Now, the price for this Steam Deck used to be $549, and now it's closer to $800. And the OLED model used to be $650, and now it's closer to $949. I mean, we're gonna price in tax, that's $1,000. That is crazy. And that device is really old. It's like about 4 years old, I believe now. So for me personally, now it's like unattainable. I don't think I would waste my personal money in getting a device that's 4 years old and worth $1,000. Now I know what you're saying. Well, my whole Steam library is on there and I could get Steam games on a discount. And I think that's true. But then I'm also thinking to myself, on average, how many games do you really buy a year? I think the average person really only buys like 2 to 3 games a year. And buying $1,000 device just to play 2 to 3 games a year is kind of crazy to me. Now, here's where I think why the Switch 2 is actually the better choice. The Switch 2, compared to the Steam Deck, I mean, just the base entry level one is $449. This is right before the price increase that it's also going to have. I mean, but its price increase, it's only going to be $50 more. The Steam Deck one went up by like $200 to $300. That's too much of a jump. So even if we consider the new price of the Switch 2, I think it's definitely worth it. And here's a couple things why. The first, you can get a lot of your old Switch games to play on the Switch 2 system. And there is thousands upon thousands of games that I think are worth playing on the Switch 2 from the Switch 1 generation. And you might be saying, well, there's not really deals on Switch 2 or Switch 1 games. Those don't really happen. Nintendo doesn't like giving deals. And I would say that's true. You're right. They don't like giving deals. But I tend to buy a lot of games secondhand. And if you've ever been on Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, or just like your local game store, you can see that there's actually quite a bit of deals to be had with the used games. So that's where I would say there's a benefit in having physical media that the Switch 2 can't play. The other thing I want to address is Switch games that are not Nintendo exclusives do go on sale. So anything that's not a first party game, I often see that the Switch eShop or the Nintendo eShop has sales on those games quite often. And so I would say if you're looking to play games that are non-Nintendo games, you are going to be able to find those on sale in the Switch eShop store quite often. Here's another reason why I think just getting a Switch 2 over an OLED Steam Deck or just even a Steam Deck in general is worth it. And that number one reason is that this is new hardware. I mean, the Switch 2 is just coming to its first year of being in production. I think it came out in June or July of last year. So we're not even a year in and we still have a whole lifetime of this console. Now some might argue the Switch 2 performance isn't that great, but I'm actually going to push back on that because I believe a lot of the games that Nintendo has released up to this point on Switch 2 run perfectly. If we think about Donkey Kong Bonanza, that game runs at 4K 60 and it looks amazing. If we're talking about Metroid Prime, is it 4? That game also looks really good. And you get it to 120 frames per second on performance mode, which is amazing as well. And for those that aren't aware, recently the Switch 2 also released a software update that allows you to play original Switch 1 titles at 1080p on your handheld. So as you're playing them in handheld, which is great because that means you're pretty much getting a free performance boost straight out of the box. Honestly, they should have just announced this when the Switch 2 console came out originally. I think more people would have actually decided to buy it. And I know some people might be concerned, well, you know, not everything that I want to play comes out on Switch 2. But if we're looking at major companies like Capcom, they've been releasing a lot of their games on Switch 2. They recently released Resident Evil Requiem, and they also released Pragmata, and I can tell you both those games run great on it. I mean, I've been playing Pragmata on my Switch. There it is. I've been playing Pragmata on my Switch, and I can say that the performance is great. And even though I'm not getting amazing gaming PC quality on it, it's still running perfectly fine for me to consider it an enjoyable experience. I think it's fair to assume that a lot of other publishers are going to do what Capcom is doing and start pushing their games onto Switch 2. I mean, it's the best-selling console of all time right now, as far as sales within its first year. And I think that's just going to continue to increase and increase. So publishers are going to see that there are a lot of people are buying Switch 2s, so they're going to try to make Switch 2 games possible. If they don't run, I think they're going to start optimizing for them. I mean, think about some of the games that just came out. We have Assassin's Creed Shadows, that's on Switch 2. The Indiana Jones games, those are on Switch 2. Star Wars games that just came out, those are on Switch 2. So we see that these big companies are already deciding they need to make their way onto the Switch 2 console. And I think we could expect that from here moving forward. So if you're still hesitant, right, you're like, I don't really want to buy a Switch 2. I think your options are actually pretty limited. It's either that, go spend $700 to $1,000 on a Steam Deck, or go spend $600 to $900 on a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 Pro, or go spend $1,000 up on a gaming PC. I actually do think getting a gaming PC is worth it. But again, we're stuck in this terrible time when prices are super inflated. I mean, RAM is 200% more expensive than it was a couple months ago. SSD prices are super expensive too. They're not even worth getting. And don't get me started on the price of graphics cards. So I think as of now, as of this very moment of this video, if you don't have a Switch 2 and you're thinking to getting into gaming, I wouldn't buy a Steam Deck. I wouldn't buy a PS5 because it's really outdated. It's 4 years old. And even though gaming a gaming PC is probably the best option, the price doesn't make sense. It's not worth spending $1,500 for something that has been destroyed by inflation. So the message is this: if you have Switch 2, I think you bought early and it's really paying off. And if you haven't, I think this is the moment to get one. But again, these are just all my opinions. If you kind of believe that I'm wrong or I missed a point, or you want to just disagree, or maybe you want to agree with me, go ahead and leave a comment down below and I really want to hear your thoughts. And finally, hope you have a great day and I'll see you next time.